I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself, even though I think you know who I am already. I'm Annette Crump, and I am a two-time breast cancer survivor and a longtime volunteer for Susan G. Komen, Los Angeles County. And I'm really happy to join you all tonight to discuss this, what I consider a very important film. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you all, if you have questions, please put them in the chat for the Q&A after we get done with the panel discussion. And we'll take audience questions if you have any. And now I'd like to introduce the panel. Patrick Norman is an award-winning director and producer whose work has been praised as independent filmmaking at its best by the Huffington Post. His documentary Pinned followed high school wrestlers going to extraordinary lengths, like wrestling bears, to win a state championship. The film helped inform the discussion on healthy sports nutrition for high school athletes. Patrick's other work has been seen in film festivals, network and cable television, and a host of leading streaming platforms. He's currently developing his next film projects while he's continuing to work with nonprofits, partners, and providers in the breast cancer community to use Full Circle as a resource for women and doctors. Holly Feneht is the founder and owner of The Gilded Lily, the first clinic dedicated to paramedical body art in Santa Clarita, California, for those of you out of state. Her work has been featured in the Huffington Post, Cosmopolitan, BuzzFeed, and more. She has the privilege of working with numerous local hospitals, including UCLA, Cedars-Sinai, Providence, and Henry Mayo Newhall Memorial Hospitals. A regular Pink Day participant, Holly comes highly recommended by her clients because of her soft touch, her compassion, patience, and encouragement that shines through her work. And Dianna Walgamotte discovered that she had ductal carcinoma in situ, DCIS. Fortunately, it was caught early on and treated with a surgery that removed the tissue behind her nipple. However, the same doctor that performed her nipple reconstruction also tattooed over it, causing it to flatten out, and despite his assurances that it wouldn't. Ever since, she hid herself around others to avoid revealing what surgery had left her with. She knew she would never be her old self, but once she saw a floral mastectomy tattoo that covered a woman like a bra, she realized that there was a way to finally have a result that she would love and have a say in. So let's kick off the panel. And I am very curious to the answer of this first question, Patrick. Why did you make this film?
Well, it's one of the questions you get most often when you're a filmmaker is, what's your movie about? And it's been so much fun for the last 10 years or so to say it's been about nipple tattoos, because nobody expects that, right? And the greatest thing is, when you say that, someone's eyebrow goes up and they sort of give you that crazy look. But the minute you add the context and you explain what it's really about and who's benefiting from that, that expression totally changes. And you can see them immediately go, oh my God, I've got to tell my aunt, my sister, my cousin, like everyone knows someone who they think would benefit from this knowledge. And for me, that was really a driving force in why I decided to make it. I came into this as a layman, like so many women do. I really didn't know much about breast cancer beside what I'd read or seen in the media, but I certainly had a personal connection to it. I lost my grandmother to it right before I was born, and that the story about her experience is one that really stuck with my family. This was in the late 70s, early 80s, but she had gone to several doctors trying to advocate for her own health. She had said that she'd found a lump, and she was just met really with the paternalism that's so inherent in the healthcare system, particularly back then. And every time she would try to bring this to the doctor's attention, she was always met with, well, that's okay, it's no big deal, don't worry about it. They would just sort of pat her on the head and send her away, despite what she was advocating for. And it wasn't until it was too late that they really decided to take her seriously. So, just sort of knowing the disconnect between what patients are advocating for and what really makes a difference in their lives and what they're being told from the medical establishment was always something that was kind of in the back of my head. And that sort of came to a head when I read an article that really just profiled one of these mastectomy tattoo artists, right? And if you've never been through breast cancer, you'd have no idea that mastectomy tattoos were a thing, right? I mean, who'd have thunk
Right.
it? And I remember reading that article and going, oh my God, like I never would have thought about this, but now that I do, like, of course that would make such a difference for someone going through this. And it just happened to be in conversation with a producer friend of mine who, she was diagnosed, I think, at 28 or 29. She was really young, but she went through the full double mastectomy and full reconstruction. And she said, look, when I went through this process, nobody talked about these tattoos, right? This wasn't something that was really widely known. And in my case, the doctor brought in, it was like an esthetician or something, but they used a certain kind of cosmetic ink that just, it looked terrible. The color was totally off. It faded relatively quickly. And for her, she was just left completely unhappy with the results that her doctor gave her. And she said, look, if I would have known about these other tattoo options, especially early on in my process, it would have made all the difference in the world. And so for me, that was sort of the light bulb going off. It was like, here's a really an opportunity to use the power of cinema, of documentary film, to tell this story in a way that I think could be really, inviting for people who are not really well versed in what these tattoos can offer, but in a way that's accessible, in a way that is inviting and really just designed to be helpful, to be a resource.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's an amazing story. I would have expected a female documentary maker to have made this film, but I'm glad you did. So, Dianna, how did you learn about the project, and why did you decide to participate?
So I first learned on an advertisement, I believe on Facebook, where it mentioned who wanted to participate in this. So I reached out to Patrick in regards to it, because I was very interested in it with my experience on getting tattooed from the same surgeon, the areola, and then it just flattening out. I wanted something different to cover all the scar. So that's pretty much why I wanted to participate.
So that's how you found all the women who participated in the film, Patrick, is through Facebook outreach?
Yeah, it was a combination of, putting up a website that just had a brief explainer about the project and what we were hoping to do with it, and seeing if anyone would be interested in joining us. We put some announcements on our Facebook page when we were just getting that off the ground. And we also started working with some tattoo artists just to see if they had anyone who'd already signed up for an appointment who might be willing to work with us and tell their story as well. But yeah, really the cast of women in the film all came to us through the announcements and the stuff that we put on social media.
That's great. So, Holly, how did you start doing mastectomy tattoos? And are you known for a particular style?
Yeah, how I got started was, and first of all, apologize to everyone for not having video on. I've been driving for a bit and had a crazy day, so I apologize for not being on video. In regards to how I got started with the mastectomy tattooing, I very near and dear to my heart, similar to Patrick, as far as a family member, having gone through breast cancer twice, and another family member went through it in her 40s as well. So it felt like it's always been a part of my life, and been involved in the cancer community since junior high. And I came back originally because of the diagnosis of breast cancer, and just wanted to be closer to home. And yeah, that's when I started tattooing, and just sort of gravitated towards working with scarring for men and women. And I had a lady that came in very similar, that had tattooing done by a surgeon or a physician's assistant that was just horrible. It was solid black. It was this black oval on her, nipple and areola all the same color, just this huge dark blob. And she, while we couldn't necessarily break that up, we thought maybe we could do sort of this lace bra over it so that it could be a little bit more subtle, to try and, I guess, disguise that part. So she was really excited to have that. And I just really thought, that was very much a moment that changed my whole direction, for my motivation, for wanting to be more involved. So started practicing on myself, and did well over a dozen nipples and areolas on my leg. My husband had one on a butt cheek. So yeah. Yeah. We used that because I did all the permanent ink on myself, and then I wanted to prove that cosmetic ink was not suitable for medical tattooing. You know, if you were to get your eyebrows done or eyeliner, that's perfect and great for what that is, but for nipple and areola tattooing, for a woman or a man to lose a nipple and an areola once a year and have to go through that every year, I mean, that's just not okay. So his completely faded away, proved my point. Butt cheek never saw the light of day. And so yeah, it absolutely completely faded away in a year or less. So yeah, it's what I was meant to do. As far as the second part of your question, particular style, I don't feel like I have a particular style. I feel like I'm pretty diversified. So if anybody came to me with just about any sort of idea, I think we'd be able to do a beautiful job. But people really do like my flowers. So yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So Patrick and Dianna, talk about your experiences during the filming.
Dianna, do you want to start?
Sure. My experience. At first, I was a little nervous. I know the size of my tattoo was going to take quite a bit of time to do. Mm-hmm. And so at first I was like, I don't know that we're going to be able to get it all done in one session, which ended up being 2 sessions. But once I got there and met my artist, because she was out of town, I knew her by phone and talked to her, and we discussed the process and everything. I felt really comfortable with her, and with Patrick and the crew. I was comfortable, so I really enjoyed it, actually.
I thought about, I don't remember if it was you that made the comment, or Jamie, or that when you've gone through the breast cancer process, you've shown your boobs to so many people already that a camera is probably not too
Correct.
too hard to get used to.
And actually, just knowing that you're finally getting it covered up, like, I was excited for that.
Yeah. What was it like watching the film for the first time and seeing yourself in the story?
It was, I don't know, it was exciting, but then I was like, wow, like, I finally finished this chapter, because once I found out about the tattooing, I knew about the areola tattooing that they had originally done, but I didn't know, like Patrick mentioned, like, you don't know there's other things you could do, like the cover-ups. So once I got started, I was really excited to be part of the film.
That's great. What about you, Holly? How have your friends responded to you being a film star now?
I think everyone's really excited. I mean, as soon as word gets out, I'm definitely a little more of a private person in that regard. So I'm not a big social media person. I'm not a big, out and about kind of person. But when I do share with people, they are super excited and want to know instantly where it's screening. And it was really, really neat to sort of share that. And I think it's really, I think people have been sort of like, really, a documentary? You're in a documentary? And I keep telling them about the different screenings and about, in October it's going to be on PBS and everything. And so I think it's bragging rights for my parents, and so it's pretty neat.
That's great.
Thank you.
How does your studio differ from a traditional tattoo studio, or does it?
Yes, absolutely. I came from a traditional tattoo studio, and they're wonderful and great for what they are and everything. My studio is different in the sense that I wanted to have definitely a much more private, sort of just sacred space, so that it felt comfortable to come into, but it wasn't sterile like a doctor's office. Because I know after going through so much surgeries and just there's probably some PTSD related to all of that. So I actually had a lady a couple weeks ago come in and say, "Oh, I was expecting a medical building, and this is so much more comfortable. There's color all over. There's, all really fun things to look at. I have a lot of artwork on the walls. I have photos on the ceiling." And yeah, so it's just private studio space. It's mellow music. I really like lo-fi kind of music. So there's not, you would think the stereotypical tattoo shop has like, heavy metal music going on, and there's a million people walking around and hanging out and whatever. So yeah, it's just a little different, a little more interpersonal. Yeah. I have lots of pillows and blankets to make people comfortable. So yeah.
And do a lot of the women that come in for this particular reason, people who may not have considered an actual tattoo before,
Sure.
how do you make them comfortable?
Yeah, I think that all comes down to just communication and answering all their questions. I try and make that atmosphere. I start usually with a phone consultation, so we can, go through all the questions and everything. And I just always make myself available. I mean, everybody has my cell phone number, so that they can reach me at any point with any questions or anything. But yeah, some of those initial jitters and everything are, like you said, for someone getting a tattoo that maybe never would have pictured them getting a tattoo. I think it's surprisingly comfortable, because maybe they even see stuff on TV about how tattoo shops operate and all the craziness, or if there's a ton of yelling and screaming and this crazy amount of pain and people passing out. I mean, it's nothing like that. So just like, I guess, any other reality TV show, it's not what it seems. So yeah.
Have you ever tattooed women who've opted for the aesthetic flat closure to a mastectomy?
I have, yeah, a handful of ladies. And actually it's becoming more and more of an option for women, not only related, I mean, just not having the option of being able to do a deep flap or implants, or women that have had something go wrong, even non-related to breast cancer, are opting to go flat after having breast implant illness. It's a wide range. So yeah, it is definitely, and for also gender affirming surgeries that, from female to male, that's in essence flat. They
Yeah.
try and do something to do a little bit more tissue and everything, but it's, yeah, I don't see that going anywhere, but I'm sure it's actually going to become more of a popular choice, in fact. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Given the impact on your nerves after surgery, some women may be concerned with how much pain they will feel being tattooed. Did it hurt, or what options are available to women who are concerned about the pain? Dianna, did you worry about that?
So yeah, I was very worried about the pain, and not thinking, because in the area of where you had surgery is pretty numb. So once
Yeah.
they got started, I didn't feel the most of it. I did not feel it. And then certain areas, like going towards like my armpit area, as it curved down that area, that's where I started to feel. So I think that was more just towards the end of the tattoo, but most of it I didn't. So it was not bad at all.
Oh, that's cool. Holly, do you use like local anesthetic or something to numb or?
No, for a local anesthetic, that's usually in injections, and so that would require a nurse. But there is a topical that can be applied. I know different artists have different preferences, so my suggestion to anyone that is considering wanting to using any sort of numbing cream is definitely communicate with their artist ahead of time, because they're going to have the artist is going to have their preferences on the type of numbing cream. But yeah, I mean, numbing cream has come a long way from the way it used to be. I didn't used to like anyone using numbing creams because it would make the skin almost not quite tattooable, and then there'd be healing issues. But nowadays they've really got it figured out. If it's got a 4 or 5% lidocaine in it, it proves to be very effective. And no artist I know of is, and I myself, of course, we're not trying to torture anyone. So we want to make people as comfortable as possible. So if the numbing cream is going to help, then yeah, why not? It's not like a regular tattoo where you sort of, pay your dues. You want something pretty on your body, you gotta, pay the price in pain. But this is a whole different story. Anybody that's gone through all these surgeries is more than paid their dues. So no need for one more second of pain if it can be avoided.
Yeah. Dianna, did anything surprise you about getting a tattoo?
No, I have seen others get tattooed prior, so I kind of was familiar with it. So nothing really surprised me other than it was just long hours.
Yeah. So, for all three of you, what advice would you give to women who are curious about mastectomy tattoos, including myself?
I would say the first and most important thing is just to do your research. And when you're finding your tattoo artist and looking at someone you may want to work with, just be sure that you see their portfolio ahead of time, see their prior work, make sure that they're doing the kind of work that you're comfortable with, and they're skilled to do that. I think the biggest thing that we want to do with this film is encourage the tattoos, but not encourage people to just walk into any old tattoo shop down the street and just, be a walk-in and figure it out. We really want you to do your homework, to be comfortable with the artist you're choosing, to just make sure that you have a good fit with them, because this is really finally a chance to have more control in the process. And we want you to really use that to your advantage.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback off of that and say, we really want people that are doing the tattooing to be skilled and know what they're doing. They need to know how to work with radiated skin. They need to know how to work with scar tissue or keloids, and just a variety of different challenges that every individual has a different medical background and circumstances. If someone has lymphedema on a side, even choosing how long a person gets tattooed needs to be considered. So really knowing, having all that information is, I think, paramount outside of definitely, someone's artistic skill level. You could be the best tattoo artist in the world, but if you've never tattooed over a scar, you can really damage and hurt someone. So P Ink is a great resource to see artists, and everyone there has volunteered and done work with scarring before. So, there are more and more resources, and always just calling and talking and connecting with the artist. That's also really important. Have the same shared vision, and be with someone that's going to make you feel comfortable all the way through the process, and be there then even afterwards to answer questions. It's just not a one-time thing. I always, try and reach out afterwards, make sure someone's healing up okay, and make sure they're comfortable, that they feel like they can reach out, with any questions whatsoever through the entire process. So, yeah.
P Ink. It's P. Ink for those of you who are on the
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So Patrick, describe your approach to the filming of this and portraying the tattoo process.
Certainly. So, this is a subject that had been covered in the media before, but really not in any great detail. I think most often you'd see it in October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and perhaps the local news might do a spotlight on a local artist doing this kind of work. And really, I think just by virtue of the fact that it was local news covering it, there was a real limit to the way that they could portray this. Most often they would just film it in a wide shot from the other side of the room in the tattoo shop, so they couldn't really show anything up close and personal. They really focused for whatever reason on like the really loud blaring tattoo needle, which is kind of an off-putting sound.
Yeah.
So, they're well intentioned in trying to raise awareness for this work, but I think they're portraying it in such a way that it feels really off-putting. I think especially for women who may have not ever considered getting a tattoo before. So my approach, I wanted to take just a 180 from that. I wanted to show this as something that was much more intimate, much more personal and inviting, and did away with all those sort of news coverage, approaches. So I wanted to just do something that was very simple, very streamlined, that really got up close and personal. We did a lot of macro photography, so very extreme close-ups of the tattoo needle. We did a lot of slow motion as well, so that you're really seeing this art portrayed in a much more stylized fashion, something that's less intimidating, and just it is almost to see like a dreamlike state. That's kind of what we were hoping for in sort of the climax of the film, is to just take you away from the tattooing process itself and have you focus more on the art and really what it was doing for women on a deeper, more emotional level. And I just hope that it worked for everyone.
It did. It was very effective in that way. So Dianna, what's changed since you had your tattoo?
I used to be very insecure and always felt like I was hiding. Even though it was hidden under my clothes, I still felt like if everybody could see it. And now I have no problem. Do you want to see it? I'll show it. It's beautiful.
That's great. Have you had any conversations about your tattoos?
Yes. A lot of people will ask me about it because I'm very open about it. There's a few people at work that have had breast cancer and have had mastectomies, and we discuss it all the time. I have one of my coworkers now looking into getting a tattoo to cover hers.
Mhm.
So, and then friends and family, yeah.
My sister is on here on the Zoom, and I'm gonna tell a little bit about you. But she just had a mastectomy in March. She's a 3-time breast cancer survivor. I'm twice, so I had a mastectomy after the second time, and this couldn't have happened at a better time to see this film, actually, because it answered some questions for me. I still have questions, but the movie says things that I couldn't say out loud. And I told my sister when she got her mastectomy that all eyes would be on her boobs for a while, because people know that you're going through breast cancer and they know you had a mastectomy and they can't help themselves but to stare. And I always wanted to say, eyes up here, because they just can't help but look to see what happened to you. And I don't know, do people look to see if they can see your tattoo, peek out of a neckline or anything like that?
Yeah, I do have people that if I'm wearing a tank top, which now I do more often, they'll ask me, they'll be like, oh, you have a tattoo. And then I will just explain it and show it to them if they'd like to see it. Yeah.
That's super cool. So have you seen mastectomy tattoos become more widely known, Holly? You kind of touched on this, that it's becoming more of a broad topic, and you're seeing more traffic.
Yeah, absolutely becoming a more popular thing, a popular option. I'll say that. Just as tattoos have sort of gotten really popularized and very normalized, and it's not, this, hey, you're only getting tattooed if you're a gangster in the Navy, or yeah. So we've pretty much resolved that stigma, I think, culturally, and so I think this just opens up the idea that, hey, whether you do a nipple and an areola or if you do artwork, this is still your body, and it's in a sense reclaiming that part of your body as your own, and it's you making choices, rather than having maybe doctors weighing in on your choices. You're sort of at the mercy of what doctors are saying and what needs to happen. This is sort of the lighter side of it, that you're getting to make some choices for yourself again and getting back to life. I think it has a huge impact, again, whether it's artwork or a nipple and an areola. But yeah, I think it's just beyond empowering, for a lot of women. First tattoo or their 15th tattoo. It's it's a choice. It's always a choice to get a tattoo. Maybe not the circumstances of our choosing, but yeah, it's a beautiful expression. You get to do something really meaningful if you decide to do some artwork. And yeah, and the
When you
mentality
finish
shift.
when you finish the
Yeah.
artwork and you show the finished product to your clients, and the emotional response, how does that affect you?
It definitely gets me on days that, for sure, that I'm gonna cry right along with you. Tears of joy and tears of, ending this chapter and getting to move on. So definitely I have shed tears together and shared hugs, and got to do, happy dances. And I've had ladies bring in balloons and little bottles of champagne, and, nipple and areola cupcakes. And, I mean, I'm not joking. I have photos. The balloons had nipples and areolas drawn on them. I mean, absolutely fantastic celebrations. And then, and it's always joyful, or realizing it wasn't, it sometimes people come in, they're like, I'm just doing this, I'm doing this for my partner. If the doctor says I should do this, so I did it. And then by the end, they're like, oh my gosh, this is really, really for me, and I think that's really amazing to see that sort of like, hey, I'm worth it. I prioritize me, and this is what I really wanted to do, and what I needed for myself. So I think it's wonderful. I'm so thankful to be a part of this part.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we thank you for being part of this. It's important.
Thank
So
you.
Patrick, what's next for the film? How are you going to bring this to the breast cancer community? I know you said PBS is coming soon.
Yeah, we're very excited to be premiering on PBS this October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And, we're really looking at the PBS release as our wide release to the general public, right? That's when everybody gets to see the movie. But between now and then, we've just been really focused on screenings like this, just working directly with the various people in the breast cancer community, whether it is, local support groups or hospital systems or even larger national nonprofits. We are just trying to find a way to use the film as a resource to spark discussions and bring people together to talk about this really important topic. So between now and October, we're just going to keep doing as many screenings as we possibly can. And then once we are on PBS and starting to air more nationally, we're turning our attention to an online toolkit that we're going to be offering to, again, a bunch of those different stakeholders that will offer the film as well as some discussion guides, some additional video resources. It's really designed to be our lasting resource for the educational aspects of the breast cancer campaign that we're doing. So just finding as many ways as we can to use it as a tool for folks.
That's great. That's great. So I guess we turn it over to the audience right now, find out if anybody else has any other questions that I haven't asked yet.
Yeah, if anyone has anything, please throw it in the chat, or we can unmute you perhaps and see if we have an answer for you.
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to thank you all. This is an amazing film, and Annette's my aunt, and then my mom's at the bottom. So this is a very personal thing to me, as a lot of breast cancer in our family. And so I just wanted to, thank you for sharing your stories and for what you're doing. And it was a beautiful, beautiful film. And thank you all.
You're so welcome. Thanks for watching it, and tell your friends.
Yeah, absolutely, I will.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's going to screen for a little longer now, right, Patrick?
Yeah, so this was actually originally the end date of our screening with Komen Los Angeles, and we've decided to extend the screening by a few more weeks. So now it'll be available to stream until June 4th. So just giving folks a bit more time, because I know that with the holidays, with Mother's Day and everything, it's not always the easiest time to watch a film. So we're grateful for those who have, but for everyone else who may have been too busy, we're giving you a little bit of extra time to catch the film.
Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap this up, Patrick?
I think I'm good on my end. I just want to thank first, Dianna and Holly, and certainly you, Annette, for coming out on this Sunday night to do this little Q&A. Annette, great job. Thank you so much for handling it the way you have. And again, to Holly and Dianna, thank you again for just taking your time to share your perspective on this. And to the ladies who joined us, just thanks again too for watching the film and for joining us in this conversation. We couldn't be more gratified that you got something from it, that you enjoyed the film. That's why we made it. So thank you for watching.
If you want to follow more information about the film, you can always join the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/Full Circle. And if anybody in the audience have any questions regarding breast health, Komen.org is a great resource providing information, education, and resources if you need them. And we are very thankful to be partners with these brave filmmakers who are telling an amazing story. It's very, very well done.
Thank you. Well, and I want to again thank the Komen family for allowing us to work with them and to reach this audience. It means an awful lot, and we just could be happy to be helping make a difference. And for anyone who's curious about what else we're doing, we're on all the socials except for Twitter, because Twitter is kind of a thing.
Yes.
But everywhere else, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those good places, we're at Full Circle Doc, DOC, like documentary. So at Full Circle Doc.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Find us online. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay.
Thank you all. You guys all take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.